Oh, I don't hear any music.
This is The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. Repair, renew, reclaim. And now your host, Allison Jordan.
Hi, Brangels. Good evening. Hello, Brangels. Hello, everybody. This is, I know what it is, because normally I say, where am I? What am I? But it's written on top of my page. We're at episode 1.13. 1.13. That's 13 weeks, guys. And this is part 2 of the 3-part series, Real Men Cry. So welcome to another episode of The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan on intellectualradio.com, an iHeart radio station, soon to be broadcasting also on 107 VIP. And we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on TuneIn, wherever you find your podcast. And we are on www.thebraintruth.com. Hi, everybody. So last week I had mentioned that I was asking people, this is what's so funny, because I was asking people, did I wear the same shirt? I think I had said that last week. So I had all these people inboxing me. See, they just want to be, they're not even paying attention. They were like, I think you did, whatever. I'm going to go back and watch it. But then they were like, oh my God, I like your show. So I think that I'm just going to start asking people to like nitpick and look at stuff, because then they'll go to the website and they'll watch the show and like get something out of it. So, okay, did I have these earrings on last week, y'all? Because I want to be all in my business and tell me stuff. So anyway, so I like that people were watching it. They were cared about if I was repeating outfits. So thank you very much. So anyway, okay, I'm going to my sponsors. Let's get into the sponsors because we have some new sponsors. So some of our top sponsors are Swabs and Swirls. That is our COVID rapid testing. So remember, we're coming up on the holidays. If you guys want to get any rapid COVID testings for any of your holiday events or any of your holiday gatherings, reach us at swabsandswirls@gmail.com, swabsandswirls@gmail.com. Dr. Rita Lifestyles, NAMI South Suburbs of Chicago, which of course you guys know I'm on the board. River Edge Hospital, we have an incredible partnership with. Of course, you guys remember, that's the hospital I spent 19 days in a year ago. Epic Arts and Entertainment, Patch Party Club, The Brain Truth Wakana. Remember, The Brain Truth Wakana to get all of your CBD products. D-Champs, American Foundation on suicide prevention. And I want to talk about our new sponsors. I wasn't done, but our newest sponsor, Darius Walls of Generational Wealth, is team focusing on retirement and life insurance, and Nexa and the Mortgage Calculator. That's our newest sponsor. I'm really excited about Darius Walls, which helps potential buyers obtain a mortgage. So you can contact Darius, get a pen. Oh, remember, get a pen when we do these shows, because you guys have to write down a lot of stuff. We throw at you. The Dr. Gettys, it's like a class. So always remember, have your pen and paper, specifically if you guys are watching tonight's show. But contact Darius at 773-698-3447 for more information about both companies and how to join his weekly webinars. Get vital information about no income, no employment loans, life insurance opportunities, and so much more. Build generational wealth with Darius Walls, 773-698-3447. I'm sorry, I messed that up, Darius. Okay. I also wanted to bring this, wasn't in Stephanie, sorry, but I wanted to bring this up because this is called My Mind Music. You can kind of see because it's because I have a green screen. But My Mind Music. So you guys all know that my sister is actress Drew Sidora. We have a movie coming out on Lifetime called Line Sisters. It's coming out in February. And of course, she is on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. But this is a CD that her and her husband produced. It's mymindmusic.com where you can get it. But they created and designed this incredible music designed to help people sleep, meditate, but it's really for kids. So this is for the kids. And I've seen it go to work on my niece and nephew. You put this sucker on. So anybody got any kids, get some My Mind Music. they are out for the count. So my music. So I just want to give that a plug. Okay. So let me get into our disclaimer right now. Our disclaimer. I threw my piece of paper on the floor. Okay. I got to bend over. Okay. The Brain Truth does not serve the purpose of providing medical treatment or therapy services, diagnosis, prevention, or cure for any physical, mental, or emotional issue, disease, or condition. As a member of our audience, you agree that the Brain Truth does not assume liability for any physical or mental disease, condition, or issue, or any other type of loss or damage due to any information shared on our broadcast. I had threw my paper. When I'm done, I'll be throwing it, and the screen didn't come back up, but that's our disclaimer. So, like I said earlier, this is part 2 of our 3-part series, Real Men Cry. So I want to start off by telling you guys, if you have any young people in the room, anybody that, you know, may or may not want to actually be around, because we're getting ready to talk about some pretty heavy stuff. As you know, we've been having these very intense conversations on men's health. And we have an incredible conversation with a man that is so brave, so incredible to come on here and just tell this truth. And I went on Facebook Live and I was talking to some of the men. I was kind of prepping them for this. And a lot of them were like shooting me text messages and inboxes like, wow, bravo. Like, that's a real man. This is that. They were giving them kudos, because this topic is about sexual addiction. And a person and a couple that really survived that. And we have no shame. This is an embarrassment-free zone. We do not, this is all about the brain truth, being authentic. And so I just want anybody that's watching to share this video. If there's young people in the room, please remove them, because we're going to be talking about his journey with sexual addiction. Okay. So Lester Troutman, that's his name. He is the president and CEO of Troutman Music Group, where he serves as the producer, sound engineer, and talent agent. Tonight, Lester, along with his wife, the beautiful Alexa, will share his story. So I would like to bring on Lester Troutman and his beautiful wife, Alexa, to the show. There you guys are. Hi.
Hi.
Oh my God, you guys are so beautiful. Thank you. Welcome to the Brain Truth.
Thank you so much for having us.
So first of all, Lester, oh my goodness. When I heard we were doing this show, I mean, I don't even know. Dr. Gettings, who you guys will meet and love, we were up all night, like 3 o'clock. Like, it was so important. In every show, I don't even know what my tissue is, because, I'll be crying. I just want to commend you for coming on here. Why? Because I'm looking back over a relationship that I was in, and I was doing my research, right? And I was really kind of like, yeah, he may have had sex addiction. Okay. So I just went straight to Wikipedia. Sexual addiction, also known as sex addiction, is a state characterized by compulsive participation or engagement in sexual activity, particularly sexual intercourse, despite negative consequences. Proponents of a diagnostic model for sexual addiction consider it to be one of several sex-related disorders. And it goes on and talks about sexual urges, behaviors, hypersexuality, something called erotomania, Don Juanism. Like, it was just so many different things. However, it's been a contentious conversation among psychiatrists and psychologists, right? And sexologists, because of the compulsive sexual behavior, but it does constitute addiction, right? And so according to Patrick Carnes, he's a PhD and he's a pioneer in sex addiction. He said 97% of people with sex addiction suffer from emotional abuse in childhood or adolescence, while 81% suffer sexual abuse, and another 74% suffer from physical abuse. So there's some trauma that happens or whatever. I'm going to ask you your story. But the reason I like to give a little bit of background and statistics when people are watching is to try to normalize it and try not to be like, oh, and like I said, I think now I want to go back over that relationship. So Lester, first of all, how many friends have you guys lost when y'all start talking about this? Or like, he a cheater, he's not that whole question, because what I don't want people to think is like, oh, I'm a cheater, and then I'm gonna say I have sexual addiction because he said it, and now I'm gonna get away with it, right? But tell me, Lester, like, what happened? Like, give me, I heard you was gonna just tell it all, tell it like a TI is, right? Tell me what happened. Tell me, like, what happened. Tell me your story. How did it start?
Okay, so the first step, I think, with the sexual addiction, it starts first with a porn addiction, and I think for a lot of men, it kind of starts there, and that behavior is normalized in the community. And that started for me around age 10. I was kind of introduced to pornography by one of my older cousins, and from that point, by the age of 13, 14, I had lost my virginity. So it kind of accelerated that way sooner than what it should have. And from that point, between maybe by age 15, 16, I had probably a full out porn addiction where.
So 16.
Somewhere around there, yeah, right around that, like in the middle of high school, you kind of discover yourself after sex, kind of discover yourself, wanting to educate yourself. You think that, like I said, this is introduced by an older cousin, but in most homes.
When you say, I'm sorry, so when you say it was introduced by an older cousin, he just said, look at this porn? I mean, because think about it, 16-year-old boys are all horny. Like, I mean, how do you differentiate? I mean, I was in school and they were like, pop your bras and jump under you. And, so how do you, at that point, know it was an addiction? Was it just consuming you? Because some of the stuff I read, it was like it literally consumed you, where you just had no, like, it was like a list of things that happen with people where it's like you just are consumed with it. Like you don't do anything else in life, right?
Well, it definitely can evolve to that point. From one of the courses that I teach in my church is a Conquer series, and he's a doctor, and so it's interesting. A lot of he connects. It's a Christian based program. He connects God with some of the physical parts of it, and then the brain, that part of it, and so some of it is just a callous behavior. And what I found out in all of it was that was my way of medicating. So, or just self-medicating.
You were 16. They introduced you to it. You started what? Watching porn, obsessed with it, or?
So at age 10, I was introduced to it. Didn't really know what it was, but kind of just like, what is this? And like I said, by age 14, I had 13 or 14, I lost my virginity. So I was kind of introduced to sex earlier than I should have. And from that point, from being introduced to sexual intercourse until 15 or 16, kind of liking that feeling and not really knowing what it's doing. At that point, it wasn't an all day thing, but it was happening more than what it should, watching porn and masturbation and trying to, I guess you would say, discovering yourself.
Yes.
Or myself. And from liking that feeling. But what I learned through this program, it was used kind of as a coping mechanism. So if it got too hard, or if I was extra stressed, or if, like you said, I didn't have a lot of big T's, like traumas, they call them little T's, small T's. And I think that was my way of medicating through some of the things that you deal with and try to figure out in high school.
So you were going through typical high school stuff, say whatever, and then you would go masturbate or watch pornography or have sex, and that would be your way of feeling better about yourself? Or were you feeling depressed, or how was it a medication? Like, how did that make you feel better, unless you were going through something that it had to make you feel better? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
right. Well, that's where I mean the little T's. I think I was trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have per se a normal childhood. And I don't know what a normal childhood is, but yeah, I was exposed to some different environments. My family worked in the entertainment business, so I was exposed to some interesting people, interesting concepts, and traveled a lot.
Mm.
I'm not going to say I didn't have a stable home life. We all worked together as a family, but it just wasn't normal for maybe a high school student trying to figure out all the things and in life and puberty and another huge part of this addiction, both pornography and sexual addiction, is the community and the home life that you come up in. When it's normalized, and if you have no one to talk to you about, hey, this is not the right thing to do, this is not the right way to handle this behavior or what you're experiencing, but there's no one educated enough or just familiar enough to speak life into it or kind of point you in the right direction or tell you, hey, this is what you're dealing with.
Yeah, because it's a stigma, and then the fact that we don't talk about this stuff, right? Like, I'm just now researching it. I'm 50 some years old, and I wouldn't have if I didn't have a show and you weren't talking about it. So think about that, right? And so now you're 16, you go to college, or we're far away from where you are now. So this journey is like, what did it look like?
This is why I'm starting there, just so you can understand that.
Ooh,
this is what's frustrating about this whole thing. The enemy, they put so one of the more famous sites, they've been on the record saying from one of the pornography sites, a 10 or 11-year-old customer is a customer for life. So that's kind of how they are positioning themselves in this ecosystem. So
wow,
what happens is, like with me, the hooks got in early, and I teach a group. We went around the room. Everybody's probably out of 6 or 7 guys have been introduced around 10, 11, 12 to something.
Well, I mean, of course, with the internet now and, no regulations, I mean.
There you go.
So 18, you're at 18.
So undergrad was awful. Yeah, that was just that's where it just full blown turned into just a full blown porn and sex addiction, and it was obviously no regulations. That I went to a state school. That environment, it's open for that. No one's trying to regulate having premarital sex or talking life about any of it. It's just it's a wild place, and it just went. Things definitely. That's where things progress.
Okay, so I'm sorry to cut you off. So yes. You had a porn addiction. When I did the research, sex addiction leads to porn addiction, or was it porn addiction leads? I have to wait for
the other way around.
So porn addiction leads to sex addiction. So were you having a lot of sex? Were you sexually active? Were you promiscuous, or was the sex included, or just the obsession with porn?
It was just porn at first.
Just watching the porn over and over again.
And masturbation. Yes.
Masturbation. Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And what I learned from where we are now, from the brain, it creates like grooves. And I don't know the brain terminology. I think that some of the doctors and everyone else will speak to this, but it creates pathways in the brain. Mm-hmm. And that's why I speak about callous behavior. So at any point, rocky emotionally, or something happens, the grooves are already set for that behavior. Okay. And it's kind of like a gateway. I'm not going to say it is that for every man or for every person, but if you consume yourself with that type of material and that that visual, eventually, I mean, that's where your brain's going to go to. You're going to shift towards that. And so, yes, that's where the behavior became callous, was in undergrad. So from 17, 22, 23. So graduated with a degree.
Wow.
College football, everything was
commendable
with that. Yes.
Which tells you that it is something else, because I hear a lot with people who excel, but then they have this other thing going on. So it probably showed your spirit, or something was leading you to just continue, and you had this unfortunate situation. So I want to kind of start to bring your wife into the conversation, if you don't mind, because her sitting there and supporting you is the most beautiful sight. And I just am blown away that you can get past this and you can get the distinction and differentiation and know that it was something. So tell me, like, course, when you met him, girl, you were like, oh, he cute. He's so nice, and you didn't know this, right? Look at him blushing. So then tell me about, your love story first. And then like when you first found out like, oh, there's something else going on here, right?
Yes. So when I met him, of course, I had all of those feelings. Like, I did see something deeper going on. I didn't know how to pinpoint it. He kept a lot of our conversations and his emotions like really on the surface. And that is like a big sign that your husband or spouse could be struggling with a porn or sex addiction. They struggle with expressing feelings, getting deep into conversation. So I did notice that, like, I wanted to get to know him deeper and deeper, and he kind of just kept me right where he wanted me. Mm-hmm. So we struggled a lot with that. And before we were married, I actually saw on his tablet, porn. Okay. And he blew it off like, oh, it's just.
That's you guys watch porn. I mean,
yeah, I'll never do that again. I was just being selfish. I'm busy. He traveled a lot. I mean, just traveled almost every weekend. Sometimes he would be gone 2 weeks at a time. Sometimes he would come home for a day and then leave. So that was his life. So he was able to do that a lot. And, the excuses at first. And I kind of just, honestly, I was just like, it hurt when I saw it. But I'm just like, I told him, I said, please don't do that again. Like,
so you were upset about the porn?
Yes.
Most guys got porn. I dated guys that have like a whole collection of Vanessa Del Rio, like bought it off eBay. Like, what was so?
Well, little did I know that it's horrible. It is. I'm just gonna say it. Like, porn is horrible. So, then there's so many reasons why it's horrible, but I blew it off because, like you just said, hey, that's what guys do. I have brothers, and I grew up around guys. I heard guy talk, so whatever. I'm like, whatever. So we got married, and things were just kind of funky between us. Just on the surface, emotionally, just like on the surface conversations. He really
because you were not. Why? Because like you weren't really on. Like you said, you blew it off, but was it affecting you in a way, like your own? How did that?
Well, no, with him, I just didn't feel connected to him. And usually someone who's struggling with that addiction, they cannot connect with their own feelings. So how can they really give you anything in return?
Yeah. But you guys got married.
Yes, we did.
So if you got married, he fell in love.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it was just that you just didn't feel like, that women intuition, that deep connection. You didn't feel that it was something.
I just knew something was going on. And shortly after we got married, he actually admitted to me. We got into a big argument before he went to Europe. This was like the breaking point. Okay. He was going to Europe for work. And when he got out there, like that whole week before he left, we did not speak to each other. Like, we were just mad. And I couldn't even tell you why we were mad at each other. We couldn't even tell each other. We're just like, what's wrong with us? So when he got to Europe, I was upset. I'm just like, man, we can't keep going like this. Like, what's going on with us? And I was reading a Bible devotion, and the devotion was actually about a man who said he knew that he needed to confess to his wife that he had a porn addiction. So when I read it, I'm like, something told me, send it to Lester. So I sent it to him. 5 minutes later, he texted me like, I need to talk to you.
Wow. Oh, that just gave me chills.
Yeah.
So God was already kind of like intervening and trying to get him to come clean with what was going on. And he when you sent it, were you like, oh God, like, was he
I knew it. No, I had a peace over me. I was calm. And he said, well, I need to call you. And I said, no, just tell me. I said, just text it. Because I already knew at that point. I'm like, just text it.
Yeah.
And we went, from there, of course, when you go through this in your marriage at first, unfortunately, and he'll tell you, there's a lot of lying in the beginning, like, oh, it was just porn. And then if you find out strip clubs, oh, it was just strip clubs. Okay. So it was like lie after lie after lie after lie. And finally we got to this point where he sat down one night and I looked at him. It was like 12 midnight. I said, listen, tell me I want to know everything that you've done. I know that you've done things with women. I just had it on my spirit. I knew that there was more going on. He started to gain weight. He was eating sweets almost every night. He had to have like a beer, just a beer. Like he had to have one beer every night and like chocolate or some type of candy. And I'm like, this is weird behavior, like out of nowhere. It's almost like he was trying to, I don't know, soothe himself.
I don't know, like chocolate and beer. I mean, so he was sleeping with other women too.
Well, yes, he did. He confessed that it was.
He confessed. He told you everything. And so how did you handle that? I mean, Alexa, like that's, I mean, you're sitting here, of course, now, but at that moment, I've been there. My ex, I don't want to say who he was. He cheated on me 19 times. He was going to swinger parties. People thought we were swingers because I started to watch him kiss women at events and I would look the other way just because I knew he had a childhood trauma. And I kept saying, well, you know, he's over sexualized. That's just him. But it was affecting my mental stability. Like it had to have, how did that affect your own mental health? How did you handle that? Because
you know, God prepared me for this in my childhood because my father had a drug addiction and my mom was a stripper.
Okay.
So I had a very traumatic childhood and I'm actually getting help now for it.
Okay.
So when this happened, I was blown away. And when he told me everything, I was numb. I couldn't eat the next day. I couldn't even take care of my kids. I told my in-laws, like, you got to take them. I can't think, can't eat, can't do anything.
How long were you guys married at this time when this all came out? This was like, because you got kids at this point, happy family.
2016, September 2016. So no, it was 2017.
So you had been together how long before this whole thing came
out?
Not
even a full year.
Wow. And so did you think at that time, like you right now, you know, we can talk about how you guys fought and you're in your ministry, but then did you like, my marriage is over, this guy's cheating, I'm out of here, but you immediately it's like, tell me about like, how did you transition to here from like finding out not only is it a sex addiction, he's saying from 16, how do you know that's a sex addiction, first of all? Like, because no way I'm just going to be like, oh, I have a sex addiction, I'm sorry. And I'll be like, yeah, bye. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because he couldn't stop. Couldn't stop. And he told me that he's like, I need to get help. I can't keep living this way. And we went through a really, really ugly process to get to this point. I mean, we went through it. I mean, it's almost like a movie, how everything happened on the ups and downs. I mean, it was scary. We wanted to get a divorce. We were going to get a divorce. It was not easy at all. It was hard.
Of course.
And we did have support along the way, because you can't keep this stuff just in your home. That is dangerous. You need other people
covering for him, and
you need safe people you could talk to. You go to counseling. You need support groups. You need all the help you can get. But yes, we went through a lot of ugliness, and we were going to do a full disclosure with our counselor, and it ended up
COVID.
COVID hit, but he went to Japan. What was it? 20. Yes, the end of 2019. So it was like New Year's Eve. In Japan, I was pregnant with our third, and we were getting ready for our disclosure with our counselor. So that's when he tells me everything that he's ever done, and then he takes a lie detector test. And
he went all the way to a lie detector test?
Well, yes, they do this because it's putting everything out on the table.
Okay.
And then there's a lie detector test to say, hey, I'm serious and I'm telling the truth. Like, it's a way of showing,
comforting you, and just, this is it. Once I'm going to let it out, it's got to all.
Yes. And it's kind of like a starting over point for us. So then he writes a letter to me, you know, about how sorry he is. And then I write a letter back saying like how I felt from everything. Our counselors are there with us to walk through it. It's a really, it's a big process, but we didn't get to that because when he went to Japan, I knew again, which throughout our relationship, I've always kind of like the Holy Spirit nudging at me, like something right. I went through his email when he was in Japan and actually found the disclosure. And that's when I read that it was everything that he did. And at
it
that
was bigger
point,
than you thought at this point. When you read the disclaimer, it was like, holy F.
Yeah.
So how bad did it actually get? Like how many, what was it?
I don't even, I can't even.
Incalculable, right? Like.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same stuff. Strip clubs, sex with other women, porn. But it was just reading all of that on a piece of paper or just in that email was like, you know, it was like, whoa. So at that point, you know, I was pregnant and I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to get a divorce. And he was like, yeah, let's get a divorce. He was feeling hopeless. I was feeling hopeless, feeling shameful.
Of course.
And I just didn't even, there were times I was like, I just don't even want to live anymore. Like, God, why would you give me a that has an addiction? And I already went through this throughout my whole life. But, you know, it's made me stronger, of course.
Yes.
And God told me specifically one night to stay. I actually had a dream about Lester one night when we were separated, and he was sleeping in our old home by himself, and there were these like creatures just all around him, just growling all around him, just big nasty demons. And then there was like this big devil in the corner, and Lester was sleeping there with his eyes closed peacefully. And I woke up, and that's when I heard God say, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to stay because I'm going to use you to save this man's life. And that's why you're here, because he was going down a really dark path. And this sex addiction and porn takes men down a very, very dark path. It does.
Wow. I mean, I was married to a man just like this. And now I'm thinking to myself, I have to rethink this. And I'm glad we're having this show because you know, oh my goodness. So I want to bring in, because I'm sorry, getting a little choked up, and then I got to bring in the people that know the stuff, the brain and everything, because we got to get into the fundamentals of this. Now that you've shared it, now let's go into how you endured. And I want to bring a really powerful couple on, Wes and Nisha Stringfellow. They're a husband and wife duo who have been married 33 years. They are pastors, directors of Heart Life Ministries, certified life coaches, marriage counselors, authors, and advocates for strong, healthy marriages. They have counseled countless couples through crisis and are passionate about assisting couples in overcoming the challenges that adversely affect their marriage. Nisha is also a certified leadership coach who helps businesses grow through networks through her business development company. So that's Nisha's network. So welcome to the show. I want to bring on Wes and Nisha. How are you guys? Thanks for waiting in the back. I had to just get all the info. I'm blown away talking about this because, like you heard earlier, I think that is my journey. And for Lester and Alexa to come on here and just tell their truth, just so that the Spirit is leading her, because she's really helping just me. So I can imagine how many other people she will help. So I don't know how you guys want to weigh in, but I know you have years of experience. I know you've been listening. So, how can you weigh in? I'm going to let the experts take over on, talking to them about this journey.
Wow. So first, I just want to applaud Lester and Alexis, because it takes a whole lot of bravery to even fess up to something like that. Then it takes an even stronger woman to be obedient enough. When I say obedient, that she was obedient to what God was saying, because she could have just packed up and left, and Lester could have been left there hopeless, on the same path. So first of all, kudos to you guys. I think some of the things that you guys are saying and have done and that you shared are exactly what couples need to know. And I am sorry that you guys had to go through this, but there is purpose. And there probably will be hundreds of couples, thousands even, that will benefit and will be set free just because of your testimony. So thank you for going through it for thousands of couples. And even listening to Miss Allison, It's a lot of times we hear, if I had only heard somebody, or if there was somebody for me that could have told me this story, maybe things could have turned out different.
Yeah, and I want to add that the healing process is really, it could be very difficult, but it's the hardest part to say yes to the healing process. It's the hardest part to say, I'm going to go. Once you say yes to the go, it makes it a little bit easier, especially if there's you both have the power of agreement. And so just from you all, it all starts with the root. And I love that Lester spoke about the root of where it started. When you introduce, and sometimes couples are not willing to go back to the root. A lot of times it's hard enough to admit the wrong, but then really doing the work to say, where did this start? Where did this door open that caused havoc with me first? Because you think it's just your spouse, but it's not. It happens with you first as an individual. And then the toxicity continues and it bleeds on into your marriage, your work life, your children. We always tell couples that if you don't do it for anybody else, you and hubby and wife might be okay, and you may heal, you may work through this, but it will fester into your seed if you don't heal and if you do not begin to seek out the counsel. So sometimes you have to fight for more than just yourself, for each other, but fight for generations to come. And I thank God that the Troutmans are also, you all have kicked the devil's butt, basically.
Yes.
Your generation, the stories you all write, the books you all will write,
I'm getting chills. Oh my goodness.
Will make such a world of difference to bring change to lives everywhere. And the children, that's the thing. The devil don't care about me and Wes. They don't care about y'all. He cares about what's coming in front of us. So that's what's so profound. So the shift comes with your admitting, owning, and then being able to say, I'm willing to get the help that we need.
Wow. If you guys want to call in, of course, the number is 708-545-2446, 708-545-2446. Just if you have a question or if you just want to weigh in and just give a little pound out to your brother right here. To Wes and Nisha, and all your experience, I'm sure you've seen and heard just about everything. And when you talk about infidelity and the difference between a cheater and someone with an actual addiction like this, what do you tell them, or in your experience, how does that pan out? Because like me, I need to go make a couple of phone calls.
Well, correct. First, I think the first thing, and they did the exact right thing, is you need to get some individual counseling. Because it is not your spouse's fault. It's not because she's less than. It's not because Alexis isn't beautiful or wasn't everything that Lester needed. That wasn't the reason. There was a seed that was planted way back when he was 10 years old, and that seed grew and grew and grew. So now, once you realize this, now you need to get your individual counseling, and I'll say this: when they say it takes two, you cannot do it by yourself. It takes a supportive spouse, and we always talk about being that safe place. And Alexis may not have felt like she was that safe place when she got the wind knocked out of her when she first heard this. But as the journey goes on, there are going to be struggles. There are going to be things that come up. And if your wife or your husband, because it can go either way, believe it or not, if they are that safe place where, hey, babe, I'm struggling. I had some thoughts, or I was looking at something and it just kind of led, I need you to pray with me, or whatever that is that you need. Them being that safe place will keep you on that even plane.
And I'm gonna just add that doesn't mean you're like, oh, baby, let me be your safe place. Come land here and tell me every little thing. No, that's not what it's going to be cracked up to be. There are going to be some sleepless nights. There's going to be some frustrations. There's going to be some intense fellowship between you, because it's not easy for the spouse to hear, here we go again. And we get these calls all the time. But one of the biggest things you could do is accountability. How often do you check in on your spouse before the situation comes up? I love that Alexa said the Holy Spirit prepared her. So God is not going to let you go unnoticed. And I know I can share this a little bit. Some of the people we've talked to, they have accountability. They have actual alerts on each other's phones that if the pornography, anything surfaces, the wife or the husband gets an alert. And it's not to go and attack them, but it's to say, hey, I see you're struggling, or even paying attention to different patterns. I know when Wes is struggling with anything, like, so your hearts should beat as one. So Holy Spirit be like, have you checked on Wes? And I'll call him right at the right time at work. Hey, everything okay? How you know to call me right now? I don't know. I just was feeling you. So it's not just in the lovely moments you feeling each other. It's in those moments where you know each other are going to struggle. And you're going to have those moments. And Alexa and Lester should say, you know, babe, how you feeling sometimes? You know, is everything good? You know, you feeling safe? You know, thank you. Every now and then a thank you for sticking it out with me. Kudos to you. But having that accountability is so huge, to not be alone, and other partners in ministry or whatever, friends that'll hold you accountable.
Lester, you wanted to say something, I think. You did something. She said something. You went, woo. You look at Alexa with so much love. I'm watching you guys. There's so much. I mean, Wes, Nisha, I know you guys see it. It's just the way he looks at you, girl. Oh, but you wanted to say something.
That's a struggle. Okay. And that's a struggle too, going through this journey. And what Nisha was saying is, we have boundaries set. So Lester has, and this is how I knew that we were. Oh, okay, go.
No, I not to cut her off. Just the guys need to understand. Like, she came with the boundaries, and once we got deeper in this understanding, they were the right boundaries. And so my phone is completely locked down. I guess through Apple, they have something where that kind of content can't come on the phone whatsoever.
Wow.
So GPS, like tracking stuff, and we have accountability software.
His location is on his phone at all times.
So, and trust me, I grew up. I mean, other married couples, other single, like, man, that's crazy. You're locked down, and that's the lie the enemy plants. And because without that, we don't get to this point today. So even through my frustration, not wanting to do it, the resistance in the beginning, that is what ultimately, that was like the baby step of the beginning of getting to where it's no longer even a thought per se, and the devices are not a distraction. But it took a while to build that up. But the initial, like, Nisha rolled it off her tongue like it was easy. It was not that easy for me to do that. Mm-hmm. But without that,
and that's how you know too, if that was a sign for me. I can't speak up for anyone else, but that was a sign for me, because I would come with the boundaries, because we were going through that. I was going through that with my counselor. She's like, you have the right to set boundaries, healthy, safe boundaries. And when I would come with the boundaries, he would fight me like, no, I'm not doing that. Or he'll just toss the phone like, whatever. And he wouldn't really cooperate with me. And then some stuff would be turned off. But when we got to the point where he said, here, take it. Take all my devices and do whatever you need to do with them. That's when I was like, whoa, like, he's serious, you know? And that was a big sign for me to know that he was ready and that he was really serious about at least wanting to change. Because I do want to say something, when you're going through this journey with porn addiction and sex addiction, relapses are real. We're not sitting here and saying like, wow, we'll never go through anything else again. And we know that. And we both take it day by day. He has his own routine. I have my routine. We both do our work on our ends. Weekly check-ins help, like Nisha said. And we have Covenant Eyes, which is a program where you could put on your phone and computer to help you have accountability partners. You can have your friends be your accountability partner if you're single, or your parents or whoever, and they'll get notifications if you are looking at something. You could talk about it with them. So we have so many different things. We don't even, I know this is extreme, and we have lost friends.
I was just going to say, because I asked at the beginning, how many friends have you lost?
We don't go to bars.
Because, you know, your girlfriends are like, girl, you doing the most, honey. I ain't going to be with no man that I got to check his phone every day. And he's like, oh, you don't lock it. You know, that too. Because Wes and Nisha, you guys have to know, like, how, I'm just blown away. Like, how do you normalize this stuff and make it be like, this is real. This is we're going to bring Dr. Gettings on, because she's going to talk about the whole brain, and there's a science, you know, the medical stuff, but just normal people. This is a lot.
I want to I wanted to add real quick, and then I want Wes to share about before Dr. Geddes comes about the brain, um, the chemical thing. But I wanted to say this because we are faith based and we're unapologetically Christians and believers. There's a surrender you have to God and not to just your spouse. Because if you're surrendering to your spouse, you will fail every time, and we're going to fail with God. So why, if we fail God, how much more are we going to fail each other, right? But the truth is that has to be a daily dying to say, today I'm making a choice to choose what you have for me and your God's best for me. And I think that that's the key point when that change, when you turn over that phone, you're not turning it over to Alexa. Wes is not turning over to me. I'm not turning over to him.
Okay.
I'm turning it over to say, I surrender my will against my own will.
Yes. Oh, that was so perfectly said. Oh, Lester.
I just want to add to that, like that's
woo, that was a sermon.
Exactly. That's the one thing we didn't add or didn't speak on. I mean, without God, without His Word, that was the beginning of the change for me and in my heart, and the what propped up and kept Alexa up. That I mean, a lot of people won't speak about, but that's 100%.
You can't do it without God. And even for the person who's been betrayed, so the betrayed person like me, you have to be willing to allow God to search your heart, to do a work in you. And that's what helped me heal, because I was praying for Lester, like, God, change him, fix him. He's hurting me. He did this, and this. Why are you just letting this happen? And God's like, no. I want to search your heart. I want you to change. I'm like, me? I need to change? But as I started changing and getting closer to God and surrendering my life, it's like the work He was doing in me was leaking off into Him.
Oh my God.
It was just unexplainable.
Woo! Okay, I feel like I'm in counseling right now. I don't even know. Am I doing a show? I don't even know where I'm at I'm sitting here like in my own time. My producer's probably back there going, what's she doing? I am literally inspired. Like, this is life-changing for me. I mean, I got to get on both of y'all programs, but I'm going to bring in Dr. Gettings because I need to take a little, I need some water. Dr. Gettings. Oh, I'm so glad you're here because I need to take a deep breath. You know my journey. I am blown away right now because I'm rethinking everything, because he had so much porn in his phone. So it was identical, Alexa, and I didn't have the knowledge and the wherewithal that you have now, and God used you, and I am just okay. Anyway, Dr. Gettings, as you know, is our in-house psychologist for the Brain Truth. She is our Brain Gang member, and she's here always every week after we're talking about these incredible topics to kind of give it some type of foundational, information to kind of tell us, what is the brain doing? What is happening here?
Yes. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I have been backstage listening to this wonderful conversation. Allison, this is one for the books for sure, because I think that we touched on so much. I want to start with what Lester was saying just about childhood exposure. Because when we look at brain development and the impacts that early childhood exposure to pornography, explicit sexual content, how that can shape development and increase an individual's risk for addictive behaviors. And when you look at just statistics, Lester kind of hit all those marks. He was exposed early. That led to sexual behavior early in adolescence. And then by undergrad, it was just completely out of control. So what I really want people to understand is that our brain is responsible for so much. It is one of the most dynamic organs in the body. And a lot of us don't get a lot of information about how to develop a normal, healthy brain. And so, as he mentioned, a lot of things that we're exposed to, depending on who your parents are, what they do for a living, if they're in entertainment, could easily be normalized. We know that when it comes to hypersexual behaviors, it's oftentimes more normalized for men. But these are conversations that we have to have. I'm a child psychiatrist, and so I see children and adolescents every day whose parents bring them in for help because they have discovered that they have been exposed to porn. They usually see signs like isolation, signs of depression, and sometimes the porn addiction doesn't come out right away, but it is something that's unveiled later on through the therapeutic process. I do want to speak to what we refer to as porn addiction in the medical community. It's referred to as compulsive sexual behavior disorder. And it's actually going to be in the ICD-11, which comes out next year, which is the International Classification of Diseases. So we recognize that this is a growing problem and it's becoming a recognized diagnosis, and treatment plans are being developed in order to help individuals overcome this problem. And when Allison, you had mentioned earlier, like, okay, well, how do we know it's an addiction versus just cheating versus this, right? Like, so whenever you use the word disorder, it has negatively impacted you personally, socially, professionally. It is a problem. This is not the same thing as someone who cheats. This is a addiction. This is a compulsive behavior. It's repetitive. You can't just stop. And why does it happen? When we look at our brains and how they function, and Lester already mentioned this earlier, when you look at neural pathways. So when you start to expose your brain to the reward stimuli, right? There are certain things that cause our brain to have a reward response. And that reward response results in a release of dopamine, which allows us to have these pleasant emotions. And so when you look at the reward system, the main things are food, water, and sex. And if you think about it, these are the things that we need in order to survive, right? Because if you don't have something that's wired in there to make you pursue those things, you're not going to reproduce and you're going to die from starvation. So it's really that simple. Those are your hardwired, instinctive reward system basics. But on top of that, you also have what's called the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that's there to say, no, that probably isn't something that we need to do right now. No, maybe we should put the brakes on that. And so what we see with addiction is that pathway that is responsible for reward and the emotional response, the amygdala. When you look at functional MRIs and people who have these addictions, that pathway has developed astronomically.
Are you serious?
Oh, so serious. And the prefrontal cortex, the pathways to it are totally diminished. So you gradually lose your natural ability for self-control, controlling impulses. It starts off impulsive and then it graduates to compulsive.
But how does that develop? Like when you say an MRI can actually identify, how does it actually, are you born with this? Does it, like, what?
So when you look at people who are more prone to addiction versus others, right? There are a lot of studies that look at their reward system circuitry. And look this up, guys. It's the mesolimbic system and the nucleus accumbens.
Can we type that in? Them are some big doctor words. We need to Google. What we gonna do with them words? Can Stephanie or somebody just put it up later? I don't know.
We'll put it up later. We're gonna do a follow-up video. But bottom line, think about it this way: your brain is responsible for a lot. Emotional processing, it's responsible for movement, it's responsible for thinking and planning, it's responsible for your sleep-wake cycle. Like, it is doing it all, okay? And if you overly consume or become compulsive in any type of activity, right, you can start to see what's called neural changes. The pathways change. You can strengthen certain pathways, you can weaken certain pathways. It's really like if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So he basically overly exposed himself for years and years and years to this reward circuitry, right? He said it started off with looking at porn and masturbation. Well, what does masturbation lead to? Release of dopamine, right? So it becomes a coping mechanism. It becomes your go-to. It becomes you really literally chasing a high. And it's the same type of reward circuitry that we see in other addictions, whether it be people who abuse cocaine, heroin, alcohol, gambling, you name it. All of those individuals are struggling with a compulsive need to keep this reward on repeat. Okay. And to your point, there are studies that show that people who are more prone to addiction, or people who have more addictive addiction in their family history,
okay,
from a neural developmental standpoint, there are studies that show that their reward system functions differently. They have more of a hypersensitivity to that reward that comes.
got it.
But the longer you feed it, the more it grows. And so it becomes virtually impossible to just stop on your own. Many people are helpless in this journey without the help and support of loved ones and professionals.
Yeah, that's what they said.
So, absolutely.
So Alexa and Lester, is this something that you've heard before? Are you mind blown, or did you know about all this, or you know?
So it's interesting. Yes, in the one of the series, the Teach Conquer series, he breaks down everything she just said, and I don't think that the general public understands that it's very, like, they show the MRI scans where.
Did you get an MRI scan? You got one?
I didn't.
I didn't get that MRI.
I did not forget.
Your friends, all them people talking that smickety smack. Go get that MRI.
No, I did. I just it showed a brain scan of someone addicted to pornography and sex, and that of a cocaine addict in the prefrontal cortex. Wow. It was lit up the same way, and it was just completely worn down. And
wow.
Yes, this is so. I think even for her, beginning to help with her, once she had access to seeing some of this information in this series, that like, oh, it's much more going on as well.
It's not just them just doing it, or him just doing it because he just wants to hurt me, or like Wes said, it's not because I'm not beautiful enough or not good enough in bed or whatever. It's because it's this is an addiction.
Yeah, I'm 34, so at 10, that's 24 years. Like, prior to this coming out, it's 20-something years consecutively of just pressing on that dopamine button and continuously going.
Wes and Nisha,
yes.
How do y'all? Okay, so you got couples that come in here with the same thing. Do you immediately say, "I'm gonna need y'all to go get an MRI"? I mean, how do you mix the science with the spiritual? There's a lot, you know what I mean? Like, hold up now. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just being real. How do you handle this with all this information? Because this is real, and this could help so many people.
This is such a common issue.
Yeah. So one of the things I always like to explain is exactly what Dr. Gating said. I explain how the dopamine fires, and the same things that fire off when you are doing cocaine, your brain looks exactly the same. It's the same things. And one of the things that we tell couples, along with counseling and all that they need, one of the practices that I tell them is you need to rewire your brain, just like Dr. Gating said. So when you're being intimate and you're at that moment of climax, if at all, try to have that eye-to-eye contact, because it rewires the brain, because now that dopamine I'm getting is my spouse, and I'm not, I don't have my eyes closed and got a movie in my head or whatever I saw last night on the phone. You know, this is my dopamine right here, and it helps rewire the brain. And that's just a little practice that you can do while you're going through the process. You know,
I wanted to say that when Lester and I would be intimate before I knew that he had this problem, and maybe this is more spiritual than science, but when we would be intimate, I would imagine him being with someone else and not me. And I kept having these visions while we were intimate. And that was actually something that started messing with my anxiety and those things. And I had to learn how to rewire my brain as well to get all that trauma and negativity out of my head, just like he had to do it for him. So there was like a lot of things in our brain that we didn't even realize that we had to rewire and try to fix those grooves that were in our brains.
The wife, she needs to know that it's not her fault. And the husband needs to know, don't be ashamed that you're not alone. And if you can get past those two things, then you can begin that journey of healing, and doing whatever it takes. And what you said about the phone, and I'm gonna tell you, this is for somebody. When you are really serious, just like you said, and you are really trying to get to that point, you will say, baby, here, take my phone, check my computer, do whatever you need to do. But when you're not serious, and you know the men are not serious, are like, man, I'm not giving my wife my phone.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You know, and they feel literally like they're being violated, like they're being, chastised like a child, and controlled, and they reject it. And sometimes it doesn't work. And you're on mute, Dr. Giddings. Go ahead.
I was just going to add to that piece, when you all were describing all of the restrictions, if you will, boundaries that have to be set to make sure a person truly heals and recovers, it very much so still mirrors the tools that we put in place for other addictions. So again, it's decreasing access. It's helping that person get back to a place of that prefrontal cortex controlling their own behavior without needing other people to step in and do it. But those pieces are absolutely crucial to have a chance of getting to that point. And the not personalizing it for the spouses, I think, is really key, because listening to Lester's story and his journey, all of the things that he's talking about that had, let's say, developed abnormally with his brain based on his story, that was already there when Alexa came along. So it couldn't have had anything to do with her or anybody else that he would have met. She happened to be that person in his space, in that chapter in his life. But that is a huge barrier. A lot of individuals will personalize the behavior. They will make it about them, when oftentimes, more than not, this is a problem that showed up before you even got together.
If I could add to that real quick, one of the things I thought about was, and we talk about this, is the naked truth. It's so easy when you're intimate and you're making love and all of these things to be naked physically. But how can we begin to be naked at the heart? And that's why they said they had to rewire. We wrote a book called Reboot Your Marriage. When you're starting over, sometimes you have to go back to the very beginning to reset and say, what is the nakedness of the heart? What are you really feeling? And that's what we really try to conquer that in premarital, because it's so much harder to deal with after you've entered in and you go through that honeymoon phase. And then we like, who is this person I married? But there's so many things. So we practice really hard on trying to make couples do the work. We do the work right with them. Let me just tell y'all, nobody's exempt. It's both sided. So, making them do the work ahead of time so they don't have to do the work 3 years. You'll still be working, but marriage is not, we always say marriage is not hard. People are hard. The stuff we deal with is hard. Marriage could be a piece of cake, but the people get past us and the nakedness out of our heart.
Yes.
That's the hard part.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. Go on, Lester. No, I don't have nothing to say. I'm running out of time. I'm just sitting here like you. I'll forget I'm doing a show. I'm like, I'm learning so much and growing. Lester, go.
I wanted to add something to Wes about the other side of it for men getting serious. One of the things that we do, or that has to happen for recovery to happen, or for you to start to reprogram your brain, is the materials and the environment that you're putting yourself in has to change. It has to clean up. So for me, God put a man in my life that he was at the beginning of purifying his life. So everything he ate, the media he put into his mind, the music, videos, content he was reading, everything.
Is this somebody in your life?
Yes.
Who is that? Can you?
Well, his name's Chris. He's I met him in one of the programs that my church does that I'm teaching now. And because early on in that program, God spoke to me and said, you're going to be leading this type of ministry and program. So I'm fine. Great. I'm going to do that. But I don't believe that there is a purified man that really can rid himself of all of the things and really live a purified life. I didn't believe that. And I met this man. And he was just speaking to me about, hey, I listen to Christian music now. I don't listen to secular music. It now gives me a headache when I hear it. I don't watch R-rated movies. I don't watch movies or media with sexually explicit content. I treat social media a certain kind of way. And all of those things, if a man can begin to start pulling those back, true change can happen with reprogramming and working out, and to replace and to use it for positive dopamine, working out, pushing your body, and then reprogramming it with positive reinforcement, stand in the scripture, stand in the word. So everyone, like the church will say, stay in the word, stay in the Bible, but it's from a biblical standpoint, that's where you need to be. Scientifically, your brain needs to know the word and use his word to help you fight those spiritual battles you're going through. Yes. So it's all connected without someone just shaming you by saying read the word. It's really deeper than that. So all of those things are the beginning of some little things you can do to kind of begin to change it. And nobody really wants to make that change. Like I don't have, I have a social, but I have a Facebook that's connected to a business account, but I don't.
He does not have social media anymore. Yeah, that was a trigger.
Right. Got rid of that. The one we do have, she runs it, and all of that stuff, it just goes through her. But nobody's really willing to change. And then with work, that was a huge trigger. The Lord changed how that needed to happen. Most people are not willing to change that. The people they're around, family members, certain conversations, media, music. I love music. I've always worked in the music business. I do everything with music. I did not. That was the last thing I said. Yeah, there's no way, God, I'm giving up music. Like I'm not. Yeah, I can't do that. I love secular music. I love the music. I'm not giving it up. And I was introduced to Christian music, gospel music, Christian hip hop, all these other things that with the music I like with a positive message. And so all that stuff began to help shift and reprogram my brain collectively.
Yes.
Rita McGuire had a question. Are there any, that's Dr. Rita McGuire. She's one of our brain gang. Are there any support groups for couples that have recovered?
Well,
go ahead, Beth.
I could just answer that. We do have communities of support groups. Yes, there are support groups, but one of the best ways to do it is to connect with a marriage ministry, or of course, seeing a group counselor, a therapist. But there are support groups, definitely. And our ministry, we definitely have people. I could think of the countless couples that if someone, that may not be our story, the sexual addiction, but we will not leave you empty. We will send you to the people that have the expertise or the testimony so that you can overcome and link up with the strength of who has overcome. So definitely there are, for sure.
Yes.
So Dr. Gettings, this whole thing, is there medicine? I mean, there's no medicine. This is the medicine, right? The prayer. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. Y'all, they laugh at me I'm being real serious. Like, I know the medicine is the spirit, and I get all that. But is this a real diagnosis? Is this considered mental illness, or how do you classify it? Because I said earlier that psychiatrists and everybody, it's a contention with this. So how do you put it in a box, or do you kind of like, how do we leave this conversation? So if there's anybody watching like me, I'm watching this show myself, and like, what do I take away? Because I really feel like I just learned something, and how do I go back and try to repair and fix, and now with this new understanding?
Yes, I think that the first thing we have to understand to answer your question is, and also to speak to Dr. Rita's question, there is definitely help. And we have to equip ourselves to be ready to receive that help and really follow through with the recommendations. There are hotlines for individuals that are struggling. There are groups. But aside from that, moving forward in your journey to healing requires you to remove yourself, as was already mentioned, from people, places, and things. And you have to really be serious about setting those boundaries. If I want to quit smoking, I'm not going to go to a party where people are smoking. If I want to quit drinking, I'm not going to hang out at the bar. So you have to avoid those triggers. And that part, can be very challenging and an ongoing process. As far as medicine, okay, there is one medicine that's commonly prescribed in compulsive sexual behavior disorders. It's known as Naltrexone. I've prescribed it to individuals. It helps diminish the cravings for not only substances, but also for activities that, again, result in that reward system firing off. Okay. Does it work by itself to fix everything? Absolutely not. And we know here at the Brain Truth, it's all about the tools in your toolkit. So you can consider that one of the tools potentially. I think that what we have to really take a step back and look at is, what are we normalizing in society, right? From cell phones to porn at the click of a button. I don't know about you guys. The first time I ever saw porn, I was maybe about 11 at my cousin's house, and it was an old VHS stuck deep off in her mama drawer, you know. And now, as a mother of 4, thinking about, oh, well, your kids can just, so now you have the parental controls, you have all this stuff to really keep this in check, because we know that it's a problem. And so I think we have to have honest conversations with our children. We need to talk about things early on, and we need to figure out, what are we normalizing and why? Just like we talked last week about masculinity and what those norms look like. What are we teaching young men about what's normal and healthy when it comes to looking at sexual content? So it's so many layers. I think tonight we just kind of scratched the surface. But as far as the debate in the mental health community, I think part of it has been, the mental health community identifies addiction, they identify compulsive disorders. So it's really been like, where do we put compulsive sexual behavior disorder? Do we want to classify this as a true addiction? Do we want to classify it as a compulsive disorder? But that is happening. The World Health Organization has recognized it. Like I said, it's going to be in the ICD-11 come 2022. It's not in the DSM-5 as of yet, but I know it's coming. There's so much research, so much acknowledgement. And as we continue to develop things that will increase a person's struggles with self-control, we're going to need it. We're going to need it, because, I mean, it's coming, it's coming fast and hard.
Yes, it's coming fast. Well, guys, you know, as usual, we be getting down on the Brain Truth, and the time be going. We can sit here and talk all the time, because I told y'all this would be a 4-hour show. I forgot I was doing a show. So I am just so excited about the show tonight. I believe we need to do another part. What do you think, Dr. Gettings?
I'm with it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I think that we need to bring some more couples on here. I love Wes and Nisha. I think we need to go ahead and give them a Brain Gang application, because, you know, we've got to heal some of these. The COVID, I can tell you now, when we were in the pandemic, I lost so many friends, couples, divorce went up because of the simple misunderstandings. And we're in a journey now where we have to start repairing. We have to start repairing. We were locked up with these people that we was married to that we really didn't know. And we got to start talking about the hard stuff. So I want to first thank you guys for being here. I want to talk about Lester's story was wonderful, but more importantly, him and his wife, Alexa, have this incredible company, right? Alexa is the CEO of Alexa Ray Beauty, and who has sent me some amazing stuff, y'all. I'm so excited about this stuff. I can't wait to wear this, but she is the owner, and here's the packaging, everybody. Those are all where you can get it, but this is the box that it came in. And I've got this, what is this? Like a little, I used some of this on my makeup today.
Yes. That'll refresh your makeup and give you a dewy finish.
It gave me a dewy. I was real dewy, and I can't wait to use this. I'm going to use this later, and then
it'll melt away all the makeup.
The dry eye cream, because I suffer from like under here, the dryness and everything. So I'll be using this, but I will tell you though, I do have on the lip gloss, honey.
Yeah, looks good.
It felt good going on. I think when I was doing a sound check, Stephanie was like, girl, your lips look nice. And I said, Alexa, right, honey?
And it's not sticky.
It's not sticky. It's not heavy. I didn't have to like plaster it on. And guess what, ladies? Brain Gang, I've got you guys. This is the This is, what is it called? Stand Out. This is a stand
That's
out.
what you
I
have
got it all for my brain game. I'll give you one too, Nisha. I don't know if you wear lip gloss, but I got one for you,
Yes,
girl.
thank
So
you.
we all got this, Dr. Rita, Napasha, Stephanie. So I'm gonna get this to you. I don't know how. I'll give it to Stephanie. So before we go, so you put up the stuff about how to reach you. Tell me, was this birthed out of this? I mean, was this like part of the healing to create these wonderful products and beauty? And then these
It was. I actually started before I found out everything, but
okay.
I talked a little bit about my past and childhood, but the things that I've been through throughout my life. I've been in the beauty industry for about 15 years now, since I was like 15. And I love beauty. I'm a cosmetologist. I love to do hair and makeup. And I just loved the part about beauty where I could inspire women to just love who God created them to be. And I saw, working in the beauty industry, how it was a commonality for a lot of my clients to say, well, I want to look like her. And I want to have this, or, oh, I probably can't have my hair color like that because I probably won't look good enough. Or, all of these things that were making them not feel confident in who they were. So I really wanted to create a business or a beauty company that would help inspire women to just be who God created them to be and not feel that pressure of the beauty world. And really, it comes from my own story, because all the things that I've been through in my life really made me feel insecure about myself. I had really bad skin. I don't know if it was from the stress or from just hormones or just
your skin is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's cleared up a lot. I had bad skin from 15 to 30, or no, not 30, sorry, 27. Had really bad acne where I would like talk to people like this to try to cover it up. So I was self-conscious about it, and I just wanted to inspire women through my products and just be a different kind of light in the beauty industry. All my skincare products, they're natural, made with organic ingredients. And it's exciting because I work with a black lab, a black chemist that actually created.
Wow.
Yes, I thought that was.
Well, that's how I saw your products. That's how this all kicked off. Like, I got bonus after bonus, but I saw it on Facebook. And I'm like, oh my God, and you're so beautiful. And so I started looking at it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, Marnie's in these pictures. And so I know Marnie Robinson. She is an incredible, dynamic woman, woman of God. She's like my sister. I've known her for many years, and it was just so beautiful how just the divine connection that we're having here. So kudos. I don't know if you're watching. I love you, Marnie. Thank you so much for bringing awareness to this and this incredible couple and these beautiful products. So I want to thank you because you did gift us with these products. And I really want you to put that back up, Jesse, because I saw somebody, was that my sister, C. Lynn? I don't know. And then I saw Dr. Rita said she wanted something. So please, AlexaRayBeauty.com. Please get these products. I'm not kidding you. I feel this is beautiful. The stuff I sprayed, I'm allergic to a lot of stuff. I wasn't sneezing. It didn't burn. It literally like neutralized my makeup.
Yeah, it's super sensitive skin too. I had really bad sensitive skin. I tried everything. I worked for Sephora. I was a beauty educator with them, and I had my hands on all the products. So I knew products and ingredients, and there was nothing that could work for my skin. So I just feel so blessed.
Kudos. So last words for you, Lester, Alexa. I want you guys to give some parting words. Like, let us hear the takeaway. Why did you come? And then Dr. Gettings, I want you to go. And then I want to close out the show with Wes and Nisha. And then Jesse, put up how we can get in contact with Wes and Nisha, because I know they also have a ministry as well. So yeah. I want that to go up later, but okay. All right, Les and Alexa.
Takeaways. It's so many, but I would say the biggest one is you have to get in line with God and with the Lord and His word. I mean, that's the one thing that turned my heart around when I was in the most darkest, loneliest place, and still even to this day has been fundamental in us getting to this point. So probably the biggest takeaway, I know it sounds easy, basic, but that's going to be the starting point to immerse yourself in His word.
And for me, for someone who's in my shoes, who's been hurt, I would say you have to be willing to do the work to heal. You're not going to heal because your husband is healing, or you can't wait for him to want to heal. You can't sit around and just feel sorry for yourself. You have to want to heal. It takes work. It's not easy. And also, I want to say another takeaway is that there is hope, whether your marriage makes it or if it doesn't. There is hope, really. And like he said, with God, you can do it. It sounds easy, but yeah, you need God through this process because it is such a big battle. And it's so common and it's just out there in the world everywhere. So you have to be willing to do the work and you need God.
Thank you. Dr. Gettings.
Yes, I just want to once again thank both Lester and Alexa for coming on and helping us to accomplish the goal of removing stigma about talking about different topics related to brain health. One of the reasons why so many people suffer in silence is because we are too ashamed to talk about things that many people are struggling with. And so I want to thank you and just let you know that I appreciate you for coming on and being transparent and sharing with our audience, because this is what the Brain Truth is all about. And this is what we need to help us to heal on a larger scale. For those who've watched, I want to encourage you to never avoid getting help and speaking your truth because of judgment, right? And make sure that you acknowledge in your journey what your needs are, the needs of your loved ones, your children, your spouse, and you make that your driving force.
Thank you. And then that's my mom that's there, Pastor Jeanette Jordan, A Journey to the Cross Ministries. She said, when you do the work, you do the work, honey. And she also is a marriage counselor as well. Also, we removed stigma regarding, what was that? Dr. Rita has something. Also remove the stigma regarding those with this addiction. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rita. And so close it out for me, Wes and Nisha. You guys are the pros, and the new brain gang members. We just recruited you.
I will tell you this. When we host an annual marriage getaway, and some of the most powerful testimonies or what people receive the most is when they're able to hear from another couple. Because when you realize that you're not on an island by yourself and you're not the only one going through the same struggles, and then when you start talking with your brothers and your sisters and you see that their struggles are the same, it gives you encouragement. And now you have a community. So you need to invest in yourself, invest in your marriage. And when we say invest, it doesn't mean spend a whole lot of money and do a whole lot of things, but invest your time, be strategic. You have to cut things out. One of the things that my wife, Nisha, she always says is when we counsel couples is where are you at right now? What state are you in? Or do you have a simple cold? You just need some medication. You just need to rest a little bit. Or do you have COVID and you need to be isolated in ICU? Where are you? And sometimes you have to realize that, and that's where you cut people out. It's like, I can't bother with you. I have to cut this out of my life. Just like Les was saying, he cut a whole lot of things out of his life because he needed to. Because at the end of the day, none of those people or none of those friends really mean a hill of beans to you and your family. Because the only thing that they need to worry about is them and those 4 beautiful kids that they're raising. Because that's what matters. And if we continue to let ourselves go down this path of destruction, even with marriages, it doesn't even have to be an addiction. Sometimes we have to think about that next generation, because it's not just about us. It's not always about us. It's about that next generation and what are we teaching them? And, and it's about our neighbors and our coworkers and, what are they seeing? What are they watching? And we have to be that example and that light to them. Somebody does.
Yes. I'm blessed by just being here with you, Allison, and just Dr. Gettings and Lester and Alexa, because there's the scripture that says in Revelation, we overcome through the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And that's how we overcome. And we don't just overcome with our own story. We overcome with other stories. And so I'm very grateful that even in the part of sitting on the other side of the testimony, it has been transforming. And I just want couples to know that you can transform. There is hope. Yes, you do need to seek wise counsel. Yes, you need to seek professional help. Yes, medication is necessary.
And there is work.
And there is work. But the journey, a friend of mine has a quote that says, enjoying the journey in spite of the circumstances. The circumstances may be tough, but you can enjoy the journey. And that is the hope that we have in Christ. So I'm just very grateful to have an opportunity to just connect and be here. We're honored and we're blessed to be a part of this journey and the story. It's just been a blessing. Thank you for allowing us to share.
Amen. Now you can put up that screen, Jesse, on how we can reach Wes and Nisha. I know that they help a lot of people. They're relationship coaches. Please, they can follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Nisha's Network.
Nisha's
Network. And we'll put this on our website at thebraintruth.com. Also, again, our Brain Gang members are located on thebraintruth.com. If you ever need any of them for keynote speaking, specifically Dr. Gettings is available for speaking engagements she is the bomb. And so is Dr. Rita, and most of our Brain Gang, you can find them on thebraintruth.com. So again, this is episode 113. I want to thank you guys for being here. I had a lot of enlightening going on. I've got actual people texting me right now telling me, Dr. Gaines, I'll show you who I need to send this show to. I mean, this was like life-changing. So that's a whole nother show, honey. We want to welcome you back. We'll talk to you. Stephanie, thank you for this incredible show. Again, that was season. We're coming to a season end, guys. Next week is our final show in the Real Men Cry series and the last show of 2021. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So tune in next week at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard. You can go to thebraintruth.com. Again, this is Allison Jordan with The Brain Truth on intellectualradio.com and iHeart Radio Station. And you'll soon find us on 107 VIP and Apple Podcasts. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week for yet another episode for The Real Men Cry. Thank you. And again, if anyone you know is struggling with sexual addiction, compulsionsolutions.com. Free yourself from sex addiction, porn obsession, and shame. So please, guys, let's keep this conversation going. Keep holding on to your family and friends and getting them the help they need, because, of course, we've been there and we know it way out, and you're not alone. Thank you, guys. I love you, Brain Joes. I love you guys.